Hello, and welcome to the strangest gig I've ever played. True tales from the studio and the stage. I'm your host, Chris J. Norwood. On the podcast with us this episode is one John Dufilho, aka John Buffalo. He's a man in about a million different bands, all of them amazing. So let's jump right in. He's got a great story for us. Welcome back to The Strangest Gig. Again, I'm your host, Chris J. Norwood. Excited to have John Dufilho on the podcast with us, but before we get to that, wanted to let you know about my new band, Chris J. Norwood and the Knockdown Dragout. We've got a new album coming out. And surprise, it comes out February 9th. Nobody knows that yet, but now you do. And it will not be a secret very soon. Yeah, our first single comes out in October, so follow us on the social meds, the gram, the tur, the book. And find out a little more. We've got some shows coming up that we're getting booked, and there'll be a nice big release show. And I would love to see you out. Come support. Find out more info at chrisjnorwood.com. As I said, we have John Dufilho on the program. You may know him as the drummer for the Apples in Stereo. You may know him as the frontman for the Deathray Davies. You may know him as the frontman for Cliffs. You may know him as the bass player for Motorcade, which, as an aside, Motorcade has got to be just the best band name for a band from Dallas. It is just chef's kiss. John's also got a new solo album coming out under the moniker John Buffalo. I was really excited to have him on the podcast, and I don't want to waste your time anymore. I want to jump right in because he's got a really funny story about a really harrowing gig. So let's get in. Here's John Dufilho. John Dufilho, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This will be a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
So we'll just jump in and get started, and I will ask you first, tell me about your current gig. What you got going on currently. I know you got a new album coming out soon, right?
I do. I have a solo record.
Yeah.
So it's under the name John Buffalo.
Okay.
Which is when I was really young. You know, people have always mispronounced my last name. It's Dufilho. Some people pronounce it Dufilho. Either way, the spelling is really tricky, and especially if you're like in first grade. So kids called me John Buffalo, and at the time I really thought it was embarrassing and I hated it and thought, they're making fun of me. And then, it wasn't until much later I was kind of like, well, it actually has a good ring to it.
Kind of a badass name, yeah.
It's not so bad. So I thought it would be funny to kind of reclaim that so the record's a solo record under that name, John Buffalo. So it's coming out in November,
right on.
First week of November. So I'm super excited. There's a whole backstory about how it's recorded and why it's recorded that way. And
well, let's hear. Did you do it at your place, at your little place?
I did it at mine. Yeah.
Okay.
I recorded it at my place.
Did you play everything?
I played everything. The quick version of the backstory is I had a substantial surgery a year and a half ago. I had a quintuple bypass. I don't know if you knew that.
I think I did know that. Yeah.
And in the recovery, it was a hereditary thing. It was unexpected, and I'm super glad we caught it, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be alive.
Yeah.
And part of the recovery was the doctor said I couldn't lift anything over 5 pounds for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So, I knew, knowing myself, I knew that I wanted to write music and I wanted to record during those months. I wasn't going to be able to do much of anything else.
Right.
I just kind of thought, well, that's the one thing that kind of gets me through life as it is, that I need to create things. So I switched pretty quickly. I'd been experimenting a little bit with synthesizers, drum machines. Mm-hmm. So I just decided, okay, well, this is how I'm going to make a record. I don't have to pick anything up. I have these little synthesizers. Drum samples, drum machines. I kind of created some samples, just instead of like finding samples to use.
Cool.
A few of the songs I kind of created my own and then looped things and then just tried to just come up with a different sound than anything I'd ever done.
Did you Like, did you use any like analog vintage stuff, or was it all in the box? Or
No, so there's, funny enough, there's some really. I have a nice synth that's Arturia that I like. I have two Korgs, but then some of my favorite stuff is I have these old, $10 and $20 Casio from the 80s that are just toys, really.
Yeah.
But they have really unique sounds to them.
Yeah, they all did, and each one was different from
they're
the
all
next.
kind of unique.
Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 of them. I think I have 3 of them, and they're all, and so I was using that. I was, just kind of, and just doing it in my own studio behind my house.
That's cool.
So yeah, a little more than half of the songs are directly about my experience in the hospital and all of the, what that was like, and it was all certainly, informed and inspired by it. So
So then, are you gonna play it out live? Are you gonna do a show? Like, how is it gonna translate from?
I wasn't going to. I mean, honestly, the very first thing that happened was I recorded 2 songs, and they were so different than anything else I'd ever done that immediately I thought, I kind of laughed and thought, well, I love this, but this will just be for me. This is just for fun, And I've got a bunch of records. I mean, honestly, I probably have 5, maybe 6 records in my life that I've made that are just for me, that I've never released. That
really?
Different things. They're just kind of like, well, this one was for me.
Yeah,
and
those are fun.
So and there's a total freedom to that, and I mean, there should be a freedom to all of it. I mean,
right.
But I kind of thought it was going to go that route, and then I just kept recording and creating things, and I ended up with 11 songs. 10 of them made the record. I decided I liked it enough to put it out, and then the next thought was, I'll never play these live. I mean, it's drum machine and synthesizer.
Yeah.
But so there was a Good Records record store day at Good Records. They asked me to play. And just to sort of challenge myself, this was, when's Record Store Day? It was probably 5 months ago.
Yeah, April, I think.
Yeah. So I asked Chris Penn, well, can you book it under John Buffalo? And I'm just going to try something new. And I got up with just a microphone and a laptop and push play and thought, well, this is going to be a train wreck, and I'm not, this will be a one-off, and hopefully it'll be a laugh. And I really had fun, and
that's cool.
That's the plan. I'm going to do some shows like that, just
you and
me and a microphone, and
cool.
it's probably my absolute biggest fear. So I figured, well, there's no reason not to do it then.
Yeah.
So
that is a fun challenge to kind of step outside, like maybe what you've done in the past and approach it a different way. Yeah,
and these songs are really personal. So about halfway through that Good Records show, I felt like I was almost going to start crying because they were personal songs, but also just because I thought, weird, I'm actually having fun. I'm actually enjoying this, which was the last thing I expected.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm gonna November 10th. I don't know when this is coming out, but November 10th. I believe I'm going to have a record release party here in town.
Do you know where you're
kind of firming up the details now.
Cool.
But so I don't know if I can say. It's not confirmed, but well, I'll say it. Who cares? If not, we'll change it. But it's at the Kessler.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So I think it should be a fun party. I'm going to get my friend Terry, who does projections for Motorcade, for Deathray, and for our bands, he's going to come do some projections, and I'm going to get some other good bands and make it kind of a celebration, and kind of ties into, since it was a record, born out of recovery, I'm going to make it sort of a celebratory, hey, I'm alive kind of party.
Yeah. So you mentioned Motorcade, and I know you've been in a ton of other bands. Have you ever stopped and counted the amount of bands you've been in, been a part of?
I sent a funny thing to Scott Beggs from Three Links, is a friend of mine, and he sent something, or it was just online, it was social media. He commented something about how, I had 6 or 7 bands. And so I'd never really put it down on paper, so I actually started writing down, well, here's active bands, and I only have a few active bands, but I've been in a lot, for sure. And it kind of blew my mind, and then I sent it to him, which I think it happened with I think he had the same effect on Scott as well, in that I pretty much have a band for, and then several for every letter of the alphabet. That was just A to Z, and then
you make your own little kids book.
I know. Yeah, so I think I'm only missing a few letters, but
that's awesome. Well, any of those other bands, are y'all recording? Is Motorcade recording at all, or plans for
Motorcade have plans to record? We're kind of. The funny thing about Motorcade is we basically hibernate in summer. For some reason, we've all agreed that there's absolutely no reason for us to exist in anything over than 85 degrees.
Yeah.
We just seem to be a winter band. So we've been hibernating. We've got some shows with the Ocean Blue coming out in October, which will be fun. Houston and San Antonio.
Yeah.
And we're starting to put ideas together for
cool.
our third record. Cliffs, I've written almost enough for a new record, and we're going to record soon, so that's definitely coming as well.
So when you start writing for these projects, do you sit down to say, I'm going to write a Cliffs track, or I'm going to write a Motorcade track, or Motorcade may be a little more collaborative, or
it is, and in fact, most of Motorcade is Andrew and James, and then they get stuck every once in a while, and they come to Jeff and I and say, "What do you guys have?" And then we'll throw in, and then I end up co-writing with them, but
for your other more
for my
solo
stuff, honestly, no, I never sit down and think, okay, this is for Deathray or this is for Cliffs. I just kind of write, and then they sort of sort themselves out for me, this. And then the funny thing is, some of them can easily go one way. I write pretty traditionally, I'd say. I mean, it's pop kind of melody and verse, chorus, bridge, that sort of thing. So really, you can kind of 60s garage it out and make it Deathray, or I can speed it up the tempo and simplify it and make it towards Cliffs. Or
do you ever get it into rehearsal space like with Deathray and be like, oh, this is a Cliffs track?
That has happened. I did actually with Cliffs. We tried one or two songs that I wrote that I thought were Cliffs, and then I realized quick there's a song on the last Deathray record called You and Me Until the End.
Yeah. And
originally I brought that to Cliffs, and we tried it. And as soon as we started playing it, it was like, oh, well, this doesn't sound like Cliffs. It sounds like Deathray. So I just put that aside for...
Yeah.
So it's happened a couple times. But, yeah, normally they're obvious. For some reason, that one wasn't.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself settling down with just one band, or do you like having the multiple, creative outlets?
I love having the different... I don't know. I suppose... if one suddenly started taking up a bunch of time, and that's what happens, is sometimes I'll focus on one thing for a little while. I like having different bands, though. I love playing bass in Motorcade. I loved playing drums in Apples. And there's always talk with Apples of us doing more. And so it'd be cool if, we get back. It's been a long time now, but it'd be cool if that happened. I love playing drums for them. I used to hate actually playing live, singing and playing guitar, because I was... nervous about it, not comfortable terribly, but I've gotten that way over the years. I've gotten more comfortable, and now I actually really like it. So,
how did the Apples in Stereo gig come about?
I had met those guys. Deathray played a show or two with them randomly. I think one was in Portland. I forget, it was either Seattle or Portland, and got to meet them, and then. There's the guitar player John Hill plays in Dressy Bessie with Tammy, his wife, and they asked Deathray to go out on tour, and so I got to know the two of them really well. Somewhere along the line, right as Hillary, the former drummer for Apples, right when she left, I had this weird moment. It was actually Jason Roberts, Jason? Yeah. So he called me out of the blue, and he said, hey, you know that we were at Pop Fest in Athens, and Hillary announced from the stage that it was her last show. And I said, oh, I had no idea. That's so weird. And immediately, we talked about other things, and then we hung up. Immediately, I just had this feeling. I had this feeling of and it was kind of from the first time. I was a huge Apples fan, and a huge fan of everything Elephant Six. And I remember... long before this, I remember telling my wife, Danette, like, I don't know what this Elephant Six thing is, but I feel like I should be part of it. I understand it. I feel like I relate to it. It just seems like that should be. Anyway, so fast forward a couple of years, I get off the phone with Jason, and I had Robert gave me his number randomly, the singer Robert, after we played with him once. And so I just thought, I'm going to call and see who their new drummer is.
Yeah.
And I got I got his voicemail.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. I was say, hey, Robert, it's John from the Deathray Davies. Hey, I hope you're well. I'm just saying hi.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't,
Yeah.
So give me a call back when you get a chance. I hang up, and I realize that I had a voicemail, and it was him, and he left me this voicemail, and it was basically like, it was exactly the same time. It was, John, hey, what's up? Hey, I have a question for you. Give me a call. Oh, wait, I think are you trying to call me? Like that kind of thing.
So y'all just randomly called each other at
the exact time. We hadn't
Wow.
spoken in months. Yeah. And so I call him back, and he's so funny. He's like, holy shit, you're trying to call me. This is a sign. You have to be my new drummer. You've got to play drums. And I was like, what? And he's like, well, yeah. Oh, sorry. We need a drummer. Hillary's not with us. You play drums, right? And he'd never heard me play drums.
Yeah.
He just heard the first 2 Deathray records that I played drums on.
And he knew you played. Okay.
So he'd known that he'd heard me on record, but never heard me live.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you guys are like my favorite band on the planet. So, yes.
Just an easy yes.
The timing
Absolutely.
was good because 2 weeks before that, Deathray had been traveling and touring and touring and touring for like 6 years. I mean, just nonstop. And we got to a point where we thought, okay, we need a break. We're gonna kill each other. We need let's just turn into a recording project for a little while and then see where it goes and take it. So that was 2 weeks before this. And immediately, like a week later, Jason calls me and he's like, hey, I know we're still going to be a recording project and I'm not going to mess this up, but also the Paper Chase just asked me to go play drums for them. So I joined and I was like, oh no, what's happened? Like immediately, within a week, I felt like our band had fallen apart.
Yeah.
Because really the band is Jason and I, and then, a bunch of other friends of ours. But Jason and I are the core of the band. And so I spent a week just kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then a week later, I got that phone call. And then so I was like, yep, I'm your drummer. Let's do this. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that was kind of a whirlwind, actually, because pretty quickly right after that, he lived in Lexington, Kentucky. We went there. I did like 2 days of rehearsals, maybe 3. And then we immediately went on a short little run.
Yeah.
Strangely, the first show I ever played with them was in Washington, D.C. It was with Beck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then a couple days later, I think we played on Conan O'Brien. So it was like kind of ramped up quick. And yeah, it was super
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Man, what a whirlwind.
Yeah, it was.
So I also saw that you started playing a couple shows with your daughter, right?
Yeah.
What's that been like? Because I have a daughter and she's 8.
Okay.
And so she's just like started to take piano lessons and do that sort of thing. So I saw that and I thought that's so sweet and that's just so much fun. How has that been?
Really fun. We did a couple of shows. There's sort of a long backstory, but the easy way to describe it was, thankfully, I didn't realize she's always been around while I've played and created and recorded. I didn't realize how much she'd internalized, how much she knew all the words to my songs. I didn't know this. And at one point, I had a show, and it was an early show, and she said, hey, can I come to your show? It's an acoustic thing. It was a coffee house. It was part of a collective. It was a benefit thing. And I said, yeah, of course. And she said, well, can I sing with you? And I was like, what? Yeah. Well, we have to learn songs. And she's like, I know your songs. And immediately I started singing one, and she immediately fell in like an octave above and just kind of like matched my vocal perfectly. And I was like, oh, great. Yeah. Awesome. So the funny thing is we didn't even rehearse. It was like 2 days later, and we had some kind of busy schedule. We didn't have time to rehearse. So I thought, can you do that with other songs? I'll let you, pick the songs. She's like, sure. So we, on the car ride over to Opening Bell is where it was.
Yeah, yeah.
On the car ride over there, I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And we sang them together on the way over, and it just worked. So we played a couple shows like that, and then one or two. And then I asked Jeff Lyles over at the Kessler, I said, hey, if you have anything, my daughter and I are singing together. We're just it's just for fun. But if you have anything we could open for, it'd be fun to, you know, let her get into a bigger room, see if she likes it. And then he called me back 2 weeks later and said, well, I've got this Tripping Daisy reunion. Do you want to do that? I was like, yes. Yeah. So we did that. And she honestly, she kind of owned the room. I felt like I could just leave. Like, she's taking over here. She did great.
So does she have greater aspirations? Like, does she?
She does not. The funny thing is we did that one. And then Polyphonic asked us to do the Christmas thing. And that was Christmas last year. And we did that one. And then the funny thing is she was kind of after that, like, okay, that was fun. I'm all done. And I said, oh, you don't want to do that anymore? She's like, no, I'm good.
That's great.
So that was that. Yeah, we went from Opening Bell to we did a show at All Good, and then we did the Kessler, and then we did the Majestic, and then we're done.
And then that's
so
it.
It was like, this little career that...
That's beautiful.
So, I felt like, man, she's got this down.
That's amazing.
So, we're not doing anything now, but she offered to jump up and sing a song with me at my record release.
Oh, great.
So I think
that'd be great.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
And I've always insisted to her, look, this is entirely just for fun because you know, it's what I do with my life, but it
doesn't have to be what you do.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
So in doing research for getting to talk to you, I looked up your Wikipedia, and there's a couple things that there's a couple things I really loved about it. The very last sentence is, John is currently alive and well, which now hearing your story is very poetic and beautiful. So I'm so glad to hear that.
It's also funny because I don't know who wrote that or when but I think it's said that for a long time now. Somebody told me quite a while back, hey, you have a Wikipedia page, and I had no idea. And then I figured it must have been written by somebody in San Antonio because it mentioned, at least the last time I saw it, it mentioned some a band or two that I had back then that nobody would have known otherwise. But
so the couple other things that I enjoyed was that your link, your external link, is your MySpace page.
On the Wikipedia?
On the Wikipedia page, how it has external links. It links to your MySpace page. So
I clearly try very hard to not go to any of these and avoid them. So
I can imagine.
I didn't realize that, but that's funny. Is MySpace still a thing?
You can go to it.
Oh.
I don't know that
that
anybody regularly does, but it's there.
Well, it'll probably come back around at some point, so we'll leave it.
For sure.
Or somebody else can change it.
Yeah, right. The other thing I found out is that you and I share a birthday.
We do.
On May 21st.
Are we the same age?
No.
I'm older than you by a lot, I bet.
Not too much.
Not too much?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm 65. Just kidding.
I'm 73.
No.
Yeah, May 21st. May babies.
Well, happy birthday.
To you as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about the strangest gig you've ever played.
The strangest one. So...
And that doesn't necessarily mean bad.
Right.
It could be whatever you interpret that to
mean, this could be like a 25-part series. I've got so many weird ones. But my first thought, though, has to be one that involves assumed near death and sandwiches, which is
perfect.
Yeah,
a brilliant tease.
It was with the apples, and we had this great manager, Dan Ephraim, and he was getting us all these shows that were just kind of like fly out shows to festivals and things. One of them that we did, I felt so lucky. We played, we went to Taiwan, we went to we did a bunch in New York. We went to, so the one I'm thinking of was in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. So we go down there, we're playing this festival, this giant festival. The headliner was Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
I think Apples must have we had some kind of minor radio hit or something, so we were offered this thing to go down there.
Okay.
And we're playing on this giant stage, and it's kind of late afternoon. the show's going really well.
Yeah.
It's a fun show. I'm on a pretty high, what feels like a pretty high drum riser.
Yeah.
And about halfway through the show, maybe a little more than that, there's some guy that appears out of nowhere on the stage, and he's got sort of this homeless sort of look. He's wearing like a trench coat or something, and he's just kind of...
Which immediately sends up red flags.
Left of the stage, drum riser, and I notice he's just kind of staring at me and looking weird and out of place, and he looks kind of confused, and I kind of look around, and the rest of the band's facing the audience,
so
and I look to the side of the stage, and there's a bunch of people on the side, and they're all looking out towards the audience, and nobody's looking back at me.
Yeah.
So nobody sees this guy. And I'm playing, and I'm thinking, how did he get up here? And what is he doing? And he starts walking towards me, and he's got this look. He's looking at me like he's just gonna kill me. And I keep looking around, like waiting for somebody to notice. Yeah. I'm in the middle of a song. I don't have a mic, so there's no way for me to. Right. So I'm just like, oh, good God. So he jumps up on the riser, and he's kind of locked eyes with me, and he's coming closer and closer, and he gets within about 1.5 feet of my face. Oh, wow. And he's right by the hi-hat, and I'm playing, and I'm just looking, and I start like yelling while I'm playing, like, what is happening? I'm like, and still nobody sees this guy. Oh, no. And I think, okay, this. He reaches into his coat, and he's pulling something out, and I'm like, this guy's gonna knife or shoot me during this show. This is a fun show, but this is not worth
that.
Right. I really think, and it all happened really fast, but I'm thinking this is going to be the way I'm going to go. What? And so he pulls a sandwich out of his pocket in his coat, and he starts, instead of looking at me, he's looking at the sandwich, and he kind of starts backing up, and then he sits on the side of the drum riser and starts eating the sandwich.
Well, what kind of sandwich was it?
I don't know. I was just so glad that it was clearly going to be okay. And then the funny thing is, as he's peacefully eating the sandwich, then finally the stagehand guys from the side notice what had been going on, or somebody and they come running out and they tackle him on the, and then they drag him off, and so. I don't think it was until they came on and grabbed him that the other guys in my band even turned around and realized what was going on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then it was like, well, that's all right. I'm okay. I'm alive. Thanks, guys. It's over. Nothing to see here, Yeah, so.
Show must go on.
Yeah. But so.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So do you know what happened to him after that? I guess they hauled him off to jail or kicked him out of the festival at least.
I don't know. They just said, they apologized a bunch. Sorry, so we don't have any idea how he got up there, and sorry. And then Robert's wife, singer Robert, his wife Marcy came up, and she said, I saw the very end of it, and I didn't know, what was happening. I think she was the one who, alerted somebody to come, but... Yeah. So anyway, man. That was pretty.
Yeah, that is among the strangest I've heard.
Interesting. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and thankfully it went the right way, and not where it was going in my mind.
Yeah, because you're thinking I'm gonna have to make a split-second decision here about.
Yeah, I kept thinking, do I just stop playing, and do I, Yeah.
So, I love that.
Anyway,
it's so fun. I want to hear now, because you've been in so many different bands, played so many different venues in different bands, played with your daughter, played in your favorite band. Tell me now what your dream gig is.
Oh,
that could be dream venue, dream band, dream
future.
bill, or is it one you've already played? Like, have you hit your bucket list dream gig?
I used to have this kind of mental list of a bunch of places that I would really love to play, and I've been super lucky. It's almost unimaginable that Red Rocks was on there, and Carnegie Hall was on there, and CBGB's was on there, and believe it or not, I've played all those places.
Wow.
And the Fillmore, and I don't know, most of them actually weren't grand like that. Most of them were the Crocodile in Seattle and the 40 Watt in Athens, and luckily I've gotten to play those places. So I don't know. I mean, if I could sum it up, I would say, if I could cheat a little bit, I would say that it's already happened in the very first time when the Deathray Davies first got together, right pretty early on. The old 97s asked us to go tour with them, and they were just completely crushing, as they still are. But like, I didn't know much about them, and I assumed we were going to go play in front of 100 people a night at clubs, and it was more like 1,000 plus people a night. That tour to me was just dream. Like, I couldn't believe we got to go open every night, and it went
so
well.
Was that your first time playing like theater-sized venues across the
country? For sure. I'd played other things and other places, but that kind of thing where
night in, night
big,
out,
giant crowd showed up, and thankfully they liked Deathray a lot. So,
that's great.
So I would say that whole thing. When I turned 50, I did a thing that the Deathray Davies and Motorcade played together on my birthday at the Kessler. That was a good one.
That's fun.
So I don't know, as far as like a dream one coming up. I don't know. Hopefully the next one coming up at the Kessler, hopefully the record release will be a dream gig and feel as fun as the Good Records thing did.
That's great.
I mean, if you were talking about just like, I don't know. That's a hard one. It seems like any time that I've ever played a bigger place, it's been, and I'm thankful to just be invited to the party. But it's always been opening for somebody. It'd be nice to at some point play a big place where people came to see.
There for you.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That's cool.
But I mean, like I said, I'm amazed that I
absolutely
get to join in at all. So and maybe part of the reason why I've always played in a bunch of bands, not to chase that, but just to kind of get to throw myself in a bunch of situations, and just see what happens. And
I love that.
It's if no one else is entertained, I know I am.
Yeah. Well, John, man, thank you so much for coming and telling us the stories and talking about your new project.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So is there we know there's a MySpace page. Is there a John Buffalo website, or how can people find out about it?
Probably the easiest way is State Fair they put out the last Deathray, the last Cliffs. Okay. They've been amazing and great at helping me with and they're going to put out the new John Buffalo. Yeah. So if you go to their website, there's links to all of those things. So
fantastic, John. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me too. Thanks.
All right, there he goes. One John Dufilho, aka John Buffalo. Y'all, please be sure to check out his new solo album, John Buffalo. Comes out first week in November. He sent me a copy of it already, and it's really fantastic. It's so good. And so, please check him out. Check out his other bands, Motorcade, Cliffs, Corner Suns, Apples in Stereo. Yeah, all of them. They're all fantastic. Thanks again to John, and thank you for tuning in. If you've been digging what we're doing here at The Strangest Gig, tell a friend. We have a lot of fun here, and let's get the good news out. Let's get some more people listening. I really appreciate y'all sticking around. And tune in next month. And until then, if you come face to face with a sandwich-wielding derelict, just remember, gig's a gig, right?